Good morning, Grace. It's Wednesday, April 10th. I enjoyed your video yesterday on ethnocentrism and the Nacirema, and I have in fact read that article. We read it at the beginning of the year in social anthropology class, and I was really impressed with the way my teacher handled it. Because as a higher level class in IB, we weren't really concerned with it's absurd, it's weird, I think you said retarded. We don't exactly have that kind of environment. And so it was sort of an open discussion and cultural examination. And then when he said it was American, everybody went back and applied every single thing to American society and just kind of had a little moment to be like, oh, duh. But what I thought was really interesting was a lesson in cultural relativism, in that every practice, every ritual has a place in its society. And looking at it through this exotic lens allows us to really see where that falls into place and why it exists. For example, the whole hair thing with their heads under ovens. If you look at that in the 1950s in the United States, you see different trends in women's cosmetics and hair. And those trends have emerged through centuries of society and their standards for women in different hair. And so I found that really interesting, as well as a huge lesson on the position of the observer, which we would be talking about for the remainder of the year. Now, the position of the observer is very important in every ethnography, because if you go into an environment as an anthropologist and you have an emic understanding of it, then you are going to be from the inside and have absolutely no problem talking about it as if it's normal. If you come from outside and view it as some exotic society, like the Nacirema is written about America, then you're going to end up with gaps and you're going to end up with biases that already condemn it to be odd, calling things weird potions and concoctions as opposed to medications. The different connotations of those words then lead the reader in whatever direction the author wants. And whenever we studied an ethnography in the class or even watched a documentary, we were always first to check, who is this author? Who led this research and where did they come from? What's their background? What's the position of the observer? Because the time period, the author's nationality, and the author's upbringing add into the book and give you perspectives. Most recently, we read In Search of Respect by Philippe Bourgeot, and it's a fantastic ethnography about El Barrio, or East Harlem in New York, and crack dealers there. And the position of the observer actually leaned towards sympathizing with the crack dealers and wanting to blame some structural issue on all of their problems. And so, while he did comment on the balance between individual action and agency and structural oppression, he always leaned towards structural oppression because the idea of blaming the people in such poor situations and who have been forced into those situations seemed absurd and cruel to him. And yet, if you flipped this on another end and you had somebody go in and say it's all their fault, they were biased and racist towards Puerto Ricans with the standards that they're lazy, that they're unintelligent, and therefore that's why they end up where they are, then you could have had a completely different study on the same material. And I find that very interesting, and it's one thing that I will definitely take away from the course. I took anthropology because I needed a humanities in my IB curriculum, but I do not regret taking it, and I've learned a lot that I apply to other things in life. Like how your biases will always come out, no matter how objective you try to keep the study. And how you always have to look up the author and the date and figure out where this is coming from, because the writer is almost as important as its material. And also that some teachers are just fantastic at involving a class and making a lot of work seem like a lot of fun. And I really respect Mr. Vogel for that. So I hope you have a wonderful Wednesday, and hopefully you'll see me on Friday. Apparently, neither of us can talk about all of these ideas and keep it under 4 minutes. So I suggest either A, we both do a punishment and we do it somehow together, no idea how, or B, we pretend this never happened.